Day 18. Here we go. Song dedicated to the moon. Instrumental. There we go, bit of guitar there. Guitar tuning. There we go, a bit of live, played along with previously recorded. Day 18. Right. Better put on the thinking specs. Day 18. White Lunar Wizard. I polarize in order to enchant, stabilizing receptivity. I seal the output of timelessness with a lunar tone of challenge. I am guided by the power of death. Yeah, this one takes me back again to the old Lunar Wizard. Got my little Lunar Wizard scar here. This is my second near-death experience, which happened, roughly speaking, in the Lunar Wizard year. I do, even if I remember correctly. It was pretty intense, really. But hey, that's sometimes what happens to you in life. Intense stuff happens. Sometimes it leaves you scarred. Sometimes your scars actually turn into codes. Maybe not always. But, yeah. Guided by death. Yeah. Guided by transformation. Alchemy. Lead into gold. It's alchemical transformation. But for the lead to become gold, it needs to let go of being the lead and become the gold. It's where our species is at the moment, really. It's kind of been at that period for a few thousand years, really. So what happens is you get stuck in a time loop, and everybody points a finger at someone else. Oh dear. Well, hopefully a bit of my guitar playing helps to anchor the vibes. Obviously, happy Earth spin. And hello to the world and greetings to you on your unique path. I'm not here to convince you of anything. Please add up the maths. Get back to me a.s.a.p. Thanks very much. So, day 18. Oh yeah, this one's bang on. So the moon, basically. Number 18. I mentioned this book before. It's a pretty good one, robust book there. Lots of stuff to do with nature. Cycles of nature, basically. Essentially, nature rules, and that's the most up-to-date science. That's what the most up-to-date science is saying. It's what our ancestors were saying as well. So, yeah. Stuck in the middle with you. Yeah, clowns, jokers. Ah, they're a funny bunch, eh? Right. Day 18 is the moon. Amazing, one of my favourites. So yeah, almost getting to the end here. So everything's heating up towards this final ultimate understanding. Or is it heating up? Or is it cooling down? That is the predicament we're in. Because the mass consensus and the holy consensus and all the references say that we're heating up. But if you go and check with the people to do the actual hands-on work in the field, and you check out all their sciences and all these various natural cycles, what you find is that humans are actually got really big egos, and they think they control the universe, whereas actually humans basically control how much pollution there is in the world. That's what we're in charge of. We're in charge of how much pollution there is, and we're in charge of how many animals die, so we can stuff our gobs with loads of meat unnecessarily. I'm not saying that people shouldn't eat meat, but you should really hunt it yourself, really. That's the extent to which meat should be eaten. This whole factory farming nonsense is crazy. We'd have way more food if we actually farmed natural vegetables and all these kind of things. Especially if we did it all locally and stopped relying on other countries to supply us with our food supply. It's not very grown up, you know. Like, I find it hilarious, all these countries that, you know, point the finger at other countries at not being, you know, advanced enough and everything. And Western civilization essentially are all addicts to each other's country's food supply. And obviously that's just trade, you know, so what am I complaining about? It's not about complaining, actually. I mean, if you're hearing me complain, then I think you need to check yourself. Because this isn't a complaint, this is science. We would have more food if less people ate meat. Period. Full stop. Go check the maths. I'm not joking. Yeah? If you want like less people to starve, stop eating as much meat. Yeah? Simple science. You know, if you do the maths, get out of your ego, do the maths, actually, you know, be a bit humble, do a bit of maths, it'd be very interesting. Because today's, you know, moon, so like, you know, blessed be, but, you know, this whole egoic human consciousness nonsense, oh dear, it's going to end. You know, it's spelling its own demise by ignoring the science, refusing to change, sticking its head in the sand, pointing a finger, yeah? Okay? Yeah, it's intense. That's what happens when you're lied to, betrayed. Yeah, it's intense. You should really, you know, do some soul searching, really. I would recommend that for everybody right now. To be perfectly honest, if you don't do that already, I do it all the time. So I would recommend it as a daily practice. Sitting quietly, meditating, doing a bit of soul searching, all these sorts of things. Because all the problems we have in the world, we've got solutions for all of them right now. In fact, we had solutions for them hundreds of years ago, actually. That's what happens when you suppress natural wisdom. Yeah, eventually what happens is comes to bite you in the ass. That's what happens. Yep. Natural law. So, humans are basically in charge of how much pollution there is in the world. They're not in charge of the universe. Need to do the maths again. I'm really surprised at how little maths some of these people do. You know, it's just references of references, and they're relying on trusting all these references to have done all their maths right and looked at it from a bigger picture on a fractal level. Now, how can we guarantee that's happened considering the whole concept of fractals only came about in the 1980s? Yeah, I mean, our ancestors knew about fractals way before that. That's why they paint themselves in various patterns, you know. We're already aware of the fractal. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. We don't live in a linear construct. That's the human delusion. Okay? So, you get facts straight here, yeah, you know. Are you sure all the people you're referencing understand the nature of fractals? Yeah? That, like, if you try and measure the coastline, it changes in size depending on what the size of your ruler is. So if you were actually to go to the coastline and measure it with like a 5 centimeter ruler, it would be way bigger. Yeah, because you'd be doing all the left, the right, all the way around. Compared to if you had a mile long ruler, you're just like doosh, 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 and it's shorter. Yeah, that's what a fractal is. I.e., with fractal intelligence, yeah, the world's bigger. Yeah, but that means your ego's smaller. Yeah. Got big egos, the world's smaller, and then obviously, you know, humans are in charge of everything. But masters of the universe. Really? Wow. Can't even master your own species. Too busy fighting, pointing a finger. You're not very scientific either. Considering the world standards of your calendar. No. Where's your evidence? Well, still waiting for it. Doesn't exist. It's because there is no evidence, is there? No. Funny that. I have to provide all the evidence to back up what I'm saying. You don't. Oh, that's interesting. That's fascinating. That's really lopsided. Hierarchical. So we're basically just ruled by bloodlines and people in charge because other people say they're in charge. And they prefer it to be that way because if it was a different way, they might lose their positions of power. Wow. Children, basically. Children playing in their sandcastles and pointing fingers at each other. Well, that's what the moon's here to just wash it all away. Because that's what happens when the ancient science and the modern science go like this. Yeah? It means the delusions are gone. History has ended. Yeah? It was a temporary psychosis, is what history was. Yeah, because natural cycles have been around for billions of years. Yeah, and natural cycles can be around for billions of years to come. Yeah, and nature's fine. Yeah. Humans, on the other hand, whoa, I'm trying to talk to humans. Whoa. Yeah, you almost actually have to become an alien to actually be able to get your point across. That's kind of interesting. Yeah. Right. Well, some more Arcturian intelligence for us today. What are we going to do today first? And so it is, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And yes, it is. And so it is. Right, wipe the board, back in a second. And back. Today I'm actually using my blue pen because my black pen's running out. As was the battery there, so luckily turn you on. Actually, that's today's symbol. Yeah, it actually helps today, that symbol. It really does. So we're talking about the moon, and we've got things like so these are the numbers. Basically 18 is the rounded number, as is all the numbers in the Galactic Tarot. The whole number, rounded numbers, give you a reference point to what they're actually talking about, but then underneath that there's the deeper meaning and the precise numbers of the fractal. So we've got 18.03, which is the Saros cycle, and that's made up of 19 of these cycles, which is the eclipse year. And the eclipse year is termed the eclipse year because essentially is a subunit of this cycle. And it's to do with the nodes of the moon and the normalistic year. And essentially is, wow, extremely key number. But it's known in ancient times. In fact, there's definitely records of the Chaldeans being aware of this, because that's who actually came up with the Saros. Yeah, is our ancient ancestors. So, this isn't thanks to modern science, this is thanks to our ancestors. Yeah? Good. Okay, very precise numbers. On this level, it's to do with the lunar standstill, and the lunar standstill is essentially the lunar butterfly, because the lunar butterfly gives us the difference between the solar and the lunar, you know. The lunar cycles take time to go through their minor and major standstills, and that's what these are. You've got these two different butterfly levels. You've got the major and minor standstills, and this number here is 18.6. Well, these are numbers I've already mentioned if you've been watching, paying attention in episode 14 when I'm talking about my own science. Well, these numbers, this ratio here, and yes, it even goes up to 18.619, and obviously there it's only 80.3, but that's a different level, yeah? Here, this ratio, yeah, is another form of fluctuation. So, where does the source of the phi ratio fluctuation come from then? Is it maybe to do with the moon? Maybe the ebb and flow of the moon, perhaps? Though if we didn't have the moon and its tidal influence, notice this is 18, which is 2 times 9, so obviously it connects in with the tides. It's also 3 times 6, so it connects in with the oceans. So they're all connected in the fractal, it's fairly obvious. Without the tides, without the ebb and flow, all the waters on our planet would be stagnant. Yeah? So, the lunar level is very important. That's why I disagree with people who discount the lunar and just think of people like me as lunatics, which is just hilarious, really. Because we all know who the real lunatics are, don't we? That's the ones who have the nuclear launch codes and use the Gregorian calendar to measure time with. The universe. The time. Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess it just takes a certain level of consciousness. If you're still suffering from the amnesia virus, the best bit of advice I've got is start using the 13-month calendar. Start writing down the mind glyphs every day, either the traditional or a dream spell, whichever one, you're feeling attuned to, and actually get to know what these glyphs have to share in the ancient wisdom. Plot your own synchronistic journey, see the signs around you on a daily basis. Learn who your family are, decode your family, decode your friends, figure out what's going on with all the archetypes. Because the maths adds up. So it's kind of important to acknowledge these archetypes. And no, these aren't archetypes to do with your ego. This is to do with fractal consciousness. Yeah? It's to do with fractal consciousness. Beyond linear time. Beyond the holy consensus. Beyond the Gregorian calendar taxation system in a debt-based society. Yeah, basically beyond psychotic consciousness. Really. To be brutally honest. Sorry. In a society that doesn't add up and refuses to acknowledge the magic of numbers and just sees numbers as some sort of quantity to keep piling up in their own bank accounts. Well, you've missed all the quality, okay? You've missed it. And that's where the true magic is the quality of the numbers. The quantity, yeah, it's just ego, actually. I've got more zeros than you do. Okay. Right. Man, I feel sorry for you that you need so many zeros to feel like you're worth something. Because you're far more valuable than the number of zeros in your bank account. That's just hilarious. From a galactic consciousness point of view, it's hilarious. And as I talk about in my book, money, this whole economic nonsense, which is the currency of our human endeavour, yeah, it's scaffolding, and now they want to bring in a digital version, so we're even more enslaved. It's not even the point of money. The point of money is to make sure we share and learn to share. Yep, that's the point. Yes, it is. It's to the point. And the point is to actually transcend the money, not enslave ourselves to greater and greater levels. Yeah? Honestly, people in your sandcastles that want to rule the planet, really, rule the universe. Wow, you're so egotistical. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Crazy humans. So this all makes complete perfect sense. Let's just zoom in there again. Yeah, that's actually how the universe works. That's fractal consciousness. These are the lunar codes. I'll show you on the projector as well, obviously. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, you don't transcend the past by fighting against it. You invent something better that transcends it. That's what I did. That's what's in my book. I have personally transcended linear time. Personally. That was what my mission was. I can't make you transcend linear time. You have to transcend linear time yourself. This isn't one of these hierarchies where I tell you how to do it. No, you have to do it yourself. This isn't the way it works in the fractal consciousness. The fractal consciousness is you're responsible for your own consciousness. So, we do actually need to change the system. Yeah? That was the message of 2012. If anybody was actually paying attention. Yeah, it wasn't just another excuse for a big party. Yeah. Is that what you thought? Okay. Well, I'm certainly glad I spent the time studying and writing. It's funny that terminology, spending time. That's how dysfunctionally orientated our society's become over the centuries, as we actually think time is something we can spend. Yeah, there's a whole other multi-dimensional level of time that you can't access unless you're humble enough to learn the codes of how it works. No, you can't understand it from a level of Gregorian consciousness. Honestly. It's a personal experience. You have to, if you want to, that is. I'm not trying to force anybody. Like I said, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm just presenting the facts, as I always have, that add up. Yeah, in a society, in a taxation-based society that's debt-based, and you're arguing with my maths, which adds up. Right. Oh well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Back in a second with the projector. And we're back. And this is my Bandcamp, where you can listen to my tunes. If you'd like to listen to my tunes, that's where they are. Osiris.bandcamp.com, and album is called Holographic for the People. That's the name. Yeah. Holographic for the People. And that album's got, I think it's 6 tracks. So I thought I'd just share that with you. There's the track I was playing along to is, in the beginning, is called Medieval Morning Ode to the Moon. So, dedicated to the moon. All the lunar energies. Bless be. So back to the home page to have a look at those lunar codes again. Lunar codes are fractal content down to the right. Lunar codes archive. Click on the moon, and then all the way down to the bottom again. And there we've got Kalanesh there, and an eclipse. So Kalanesh, that's one of the stone circles up north here in Scotland, actually keeps track of the lunar standstills. Yep, it's one of its functions. So it's very curious, our ancestors we're aware of this 18.6 to 18.618. And these ancient, these ancient sites, they are actually stargates, but it's not like Hollywood. It's not this glamorous Stargate nonsense. They're actually stargates to help us humans to understand our own natural world that we live in, that isn't coded to the Gregorian calendar, which is coded to nature, because nature rules, and there's a multitude of fractal codes which are all here pretty much. I mean, this whole Galactic Tower sequence, I've pretty much been referencing my book the whole time. There's a few which have been updated now, but I've found all the correlations now with the climate. To me that's fascinating, because I didn't go into this thinking that it would all match up with the climate. I was just looking for codes of nature, because I love nature. And I love learning from nature. And one of the first things you're going to learn when you start learning from nature is it doesn't run according to the Gregorian calendar. Well, it can only be said so many times. Try my best. I went to Calnesh when I was younger. It was amazing. Love Calnesh. So, all the eclipse codes, my whole book's eclipse codes, so Saris's, lunar eclipse years, the 346.62s, have a look in my book. Towards the end is where the equations are, how it all fits together. It's getting a bit more intense towards the end. That's the truth of the matter, though. Well, if natural wisdom is ignored and suppressed for thousands of years, and people refuse to take the time to actually do the maths themselves, thinking someone else will always do it for them, you can't learn something unless you do the maths yourself. Not from this level of consciousness. No, that's not how it works. Well, it's going to be more intense tomorrow. Tomorrow's day 19. Day 19 is the strength card, because I've moved the 11 and the 19, because 11 is really the sunspot cycle. So tomorrow's the strength card, so that's basically what happens when all the cycles combine at the same time. Everybody thought that was 2012. 2012 is probably just the alarm clock going off, because our ancestors were probably compassionate as well. Would you believe it? Compassionate. For people that weren't even alive yet. To program the calendar so that the alarm clock goes off with a wee bit of warning. Well, let's hope the CO2 blanket saves us. And obviously we all want the geoengineering to work. So the CO2 blanket and the geoengineering will make sure that Earth stays warm enough, even though it's time for us to kind of walk gently off the mountain of the Holocene period. That's what the codes of nature are saying. And they match the ice core samples, which match the codes in my book, which match the Mayan Egyptian wisdom, land of Kemet, Alchem, the alchemy of the two together, Mayan and Egyptian together. It's all there in the previous episodes. I've already talked about it. I'm trying to do a bit of alchemy here to try and really get a bigger sense of what this is all talking about. I'm hoping that's what's going to come across. Well, I can only be me, so that's what you're gonna get, is you're gonna get me. Right. I think that's pretty much that for today. Again, I am just a man presenting this wisdom. So much more to it. This is just a synopsis, really. For anybody that has the time to and is willing to listen to all sides of the conversation, that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing different sides of the conversation. One side, with the CO2 blanket will save us, and the geoengineering is going to cool the planet. Even though, actually, if you don't look at the fudge drafts, it's already been cooling. Yep. So the CO2 nonsense, that's not working. Geoengineering, that's laughable. On the opposite side, you've got the industrialists. Well, they're just going to always pollute more because that's what their whole thing is. Yeah, it's just continuous greed. Always has been. Yeah. Continuous greed. Well, I mean, it's a different lifestyle. If you sit there meditating for hours, how much does that cost you? Yeah, it's just an aesthetic life. What? You prejudice against aesthetic lives? Wow. So it's wrong to not want to consume as much as everybody else. This world is upside down. It is due polar reversal, but I think that's not for maybe 1,000 years. It could be part of this downward leaving the mountaintop of the Holocene interglacial. Could well occur in the next 1,000 years. So that's something to look forward to. And remember, it's a reverse flood. Like the beginning of the Holocene, that was the flood. So leaving the interglacial, that means the oceans actually drop. So it's a reverse flood. So we don't need to really worry about floods. Could well be getting colder again. So that's something to be aware of. Unless, of course, obviously, CO2 blanket saves us, and then we just spray everything with more dirt, and yeah, exactly, have more clouds. I'm not sure if that's very clever though, if we're actually heading into a cooling period, and all the best science is agreeing on that, which includes my science as well, thanks very much. Then probably it's a pretty damn stupid idea actually to do geoengineering. Yeah. So CO2 isn't God. It's not sin either. Breathing out isn't a sin. Yeah. The issue is pollution, pollutants, dirt, filth. Yeah, the kind of stuff they're going to spray out the geoengineering planes. Yeah, particulates that create aerosols. Yeah. What a narrative they have spun. Wow. Yeah, it's an intense one, but it's not actually that intense, really. I mean, look how many people refuse to change the Gregorian calendar. That's just a calendar. Imagine how, how refusing they're going to be to acknowledge the fact the whole CO2 nonsense is a load of rubbish. Well, that's already happening. There's a huge divide in our world about this. In fact, I would actually have to say that pretty much maybe underneath almost all of the political stuff that's going on at the moment is actually this issue of whose science is correct, whose science adds up. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, have you ever considered that maybe actually maths, other than just adding up things so you have more of it, that actually there's a more magical side to maths that could help the planet, help everybody? Yeah, that's why it's important to do a bit of maths yourself. Yeah, these are magical codes. Yeah. Magic of our ancestors. They left for us as gifts. So we're actually stupid to not actually want to pay attention or actually want to investigate it more. Yeah. Happily, willingly going along with the Gregorian nonsense, yearly nonsense, tables of flipping nonsense. Continuous rubbish, 6 o'clock news rubbish. Yeah? Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I look forward to the day. 6 o'clock news. We finally discovered that actually we already live inside the unified field theory. That obviously isn't a theory because we're already all alive here in this galaxy, on this planet where nature rules. And we're just a coastal biome that likes polluting far too much. A lot of people are happy polluting and they like it. Why would they stop doing it? There's no repercussions. It just affects the food chain. If they can just buy expensive food, then they'll always get healthier food, even if they pollute more. Well, that's what happens when we live in a hierarchy and there's no fractal consciousness. Yeah? So, well, it's not my problem then, is it? No, it's not actually. No. Transcended linear time. Yeah. Yeah, that was my mission. Argue against the maths then. The maths which lines up with the ancestors' maths. Yeah. And nature. Beloved nature. Yeah, well, that's what you get. You get both sides of the story. You get a bigger picture. If you can't handle the intensity, well, that's up to you. I'm making these videos for free. I'm going to share all different sides of the story. Because that's the point. To have a real debate, you have to listen to all sides of the story. Yeah? If you've got more votes, yeah, and you all think the same way, that means you're prejudiced. You've already weighted the dice to give you the outcome you want. Yeah, that's the problem with consensus, collective, ego consciousness. Yeah? Yeah, that's why fractal consciousness helps us to transcend linear time. Transcend the ego, transcend the need for everybody to be in control, because you're not. Nature rules. Always has, always will. So, have more fun, pollute less. Nature rules. And if you want to check out anything I've been talking about, search.org, infinitycodes.net. The truth will set us free. If it doesn't, it's not the truth. Who is this all for? Yeah, it's for everybody who's suffering, actually. Because they're just at the arse end of an incredibly complicated, stupid equation. There's no one's willing to actually say and stand up for a fractal consciousness that makes sense. Yep, you have to give up your Gregorian calendar. Yes, you do. Yeah, they can use it in Rome if they want to use it in Rome, but why would they when they learn about the Etruscan, native people, which the Romans wiped out in a genocide? So why would you want to use a calendar of people that committed one of the first genocides? Are you a megalomaniac yourself? You should really research the origins of the calendar which you use and how it came about. You'll realise there's a much darker satanic origins to what you have an allegiance to and you don't question. Yeah, that's on a psychic level. Yeah, it's not something you're going to see with your physical eyes. It's only something you can understand with your greater consciousness. So it's time to transcend a Gregorian. Yeah, get the maths right. That's what the time is. Yeah, the time. Yeah, that's what time is. So it's for. And why have we got human suffering? Are we a human species? I don't think we are yet. No. It can't exist while the linear framework of slavery continues. Yeah. Well, that's who it's for. Freeing the world. Yeah. With better maths. More accurate maths. Yeah. As the foundation. Yeah. Because nobody sits on the throne. Nature sits on the throne. And nature's made of incredible fractal maths. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. To understand it, yeah. Mathematics is the language of nature. Yes, nature talks through numbers and ratios and fractals. Yes, it does. We're a part of it. We're not in control of it, though. Only people who are in just pure ego think they're in control of it. That's the truth. Well, I suggest you deal with it. It's up to you, it's not up to me. I'm just sharing information. You can choose to believe whatever you want. I'm not on a path of belief, I'm on a path of gnosis. So you're welcome to come along on the path, but that then is your path and your life choices. So let's hope one day that we do actually have a human species that cares about itself and understands that in actuality we do actually need to deal with the root cause and not just always be treating the symptoms. So, time to change the calendar, get the maths right. Acknowledge our ancestors and their magic of understanding the maths of nature. Yes, that's why I was doing my work. Yeah, because I have a great love for our ancestors. I think I actually love our ancestors more than this modern world. Yeah, well, I've lived in the middle of nowhere. Yes, I have. Raw food in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Beautiful community. I've tasted heaven truly. And it's in nature, away from technology, where we all understand how to grow things and aren't just children of a childish society. Yeah, it's a completely different reality. Completely different reality from this current modern, total, crazy world we live in that refuses to acknowledge abundance as the natural state of existence, because that's what it is. When you work in harmony with nature equals abundance. Yeah. So, freedom for everybody, no more people suffering, check the maths again. And yeah, we need to get rid of the Gregorian calendar and this whole taxation system in a debt-based society. Yeah, you're gonna have to check all the maths again. I would love to see your balance sheets. I bet you they're hilarious. Really. Yeah. So the Lunar Code's just gonna wash over the entire thing, basically. No, you can't deal with the Lunar Code. The Lunar Code's gonna wash over the entire thing. Yeah. Yeah, because that's the lunar energy. Yeah, it just washes the entire thing, all of that nonsense. Yeah, all gone. Yeah, because it's temporary. It's a linear human construct. It's a delusion. It's temporary. Because nature rules. Nature ruled before the delusion was created and turned into a brainwashing system that we now live inside. And afterwards, nature's just going to wash over it. That's what's happening. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about a flood. I'm talking about on a consciousness level. Washed over. As in, gone. History. Learn about fractal maths. Geometries. They're cool. Yeah, they're really actually really cool. Far more interesting than most of the stuff you learn in school. Or university. I'm so thankful that I never went. See you tomorrow.